So I think that if you are looking for lessons in self acceptance, there really is no better place to turn to than the plant kingdom. And really getting to take some time and get to know more about plants and how they grow, and if you just even had the chance to really be around them. And I think three of the most important lessons that they offer are respecting our own timing, right? Understanding community and understanding that our various aspects have different roles that they play, and there is a different time and place and way to utilize each aspect. So, for instance, when it comes to time, we like to rush things um, and we kind of want it now. We're like, why isn't it happening right now? And I think, the plant kingdom can kind of put that into perspective. And when you watch these things grow and flourish and bloom, and you get to see like the cycles that happen, you get to understand that and see that more in your own life and how that's playing out for you, um, which can kind of help relax us a little bit, because we can know that, like, hey, that time is coming and it's okay. Trillium is a great example of this. I think it's a really beautiful flower. However, the plant itself, and it's not very big, I think it grows, I want to say it's like 3 to 5 inches, something like that. It's not very big, but for this plant to grow, it takes 2 to 3 years before you see any growth above ground at all. And then it can take like 5 to 8 years to flower, right? Beautiful plant, not that big, takes a bit of time to grow. And that's if the soil conditions are, nourishing and hospitable to the plant. That's in the best of conditions. It you know, the 2 to 3 years before above ground growth and the 5 to 8 years before it flowers. So if conditions aren't ideal, it's going to take even longer, right? And I think it helps put things into perspective, uh, with us in attaining. Yes, we can do things faster, can probably get things to bloom a little bit faster than Trillium does. But there are also certain things that it's going to take a while and it's going to take some time. And we're going to have to nurture and nourish and support throughout that time of like growth and rooting down and anchoring and getting our footing, and then kind of being able to like push through some things to start to grow in the area and then fully blossom. And I think another lesson that we can take from plants is community. And one of the best examples I have of this is, um, the Three Sisters planting method, right? Which was Native Americans would plant, corn and beans and squash together, right? And what happens when you do that, though, is the corn becomes the structure for the beans to climb, right? And the beans are really good at converting nitrogen from the air and converting it into a more like easily digestible form for the plant. So it helps keep the soil really rich and nutritious for the other two plants. And it'll also, because it's winding its way around the corn, it kind of helps give the corn more stability whenever it's really windy, right? Because the beans are kind of anchoring it in. And then the squash, because it spreads out in the leaves, it helps keep the soil moist, right? Because of the shade. But it also, because it spreads so much, it normally will crowd out any weeds that would normally happen. So it protects the other two plants, as it's spreading, because the weeds aren't going to be able to grow and choke them out. And I think it's something that Western society in particular, I would say, has kind of forgotten a bit, uh, in terms of how to be in community and how what that looks like to support each other and what it looks like to be able to support each other just by being ourselves as well, right? So it's not this like overextension and massive go out of our way to support each other, but it's just my gifts, what I do naturally help support your thriving and survival, and what you do naturally help support my survival, right? And it's this really wonderful give and take that happens, and I think when we go into nature, we get to witness that a bit more and be reminded of that. And then I also, the third lesson that we can learn from plants, right, is when you, especially when you start working with plants in a way for like wellness support, like medicinal benefits and things like that, sometimes like you don't necessarily use all parts of the plant, right, for the same medical benefit. And sometimes certain plants you will use like the entire plant, every piece of it is beneficial in a medicinal way, and you can use all different parts. And sometimes you can't. So the way you would use a different part of the plant might not be medicinal anymore, but you might use it now to, go and weave a basket, and that becomes the thing that you carry the other parts in. But the point is that all the parts and all the aspects of the plant have some sort of use. And I think we as humans forget that, like, we have our aspects for a reason, right? All these things that we are, that we be, that we do, and how we respond to things, like, they're there for a reason. And it's really easy to look at something, and especially if it's an aspect of you that isn't necessarily prized in the environment that you're in, and think, oh, this is bad, and want to hide it or get rid of it or, condemn it, whatever. And if we could actually just learn to work with those aspects of ourselves, right? Because there is a time and a place for it. It is there for a reason, right? Now, yes, are there some aspects that we have adopted and taken on that aren't truly us, and we can go ahead and release that, and we should go ahead and release that? Yes. Yes. Especially if your environment has changed. Now, if your environment hasn't changed, you may still need to keep some of those adaptive things that you have developed over time, because that's what's been helping you survive. But sometimes we've just tucked those things away and we forget that we have them because we've ignored them so long, or we've actively like pushed them down so long that we create this disconnect from them, right? It's kind of like if you think of someone trying to talk to you, and like how much does someone not listening happen before you just stop trying to talk to them, right? And that's kind of what this disconnect is with these aspects of ourselves, essentially, is like, hey, this side has tried to express so much and so long, and we've not let it for whatever reason, right? That it becomes a bit quieter, right? The world gets louder. The what you're supposed to and what you should gets louder and overtakes the what you actually are and what the happiness is and what the truth of you is. And I think it's a wonderful lesson to learn to see that all parts are useful and can be worked with in some way. And if we allow for that, magic can happen. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight, was just plants as teachers of self-acceptance, and the three main lessons that I see them as providing is understanding, like learning to respect our own timing, learning to be in community, truly in community, and understanding that all pieces of us have a role. So, have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take care.